Hello, my name is George Epps. We'd like to introduce you to our 10 DVD video set. This will give you a unique perspective on doing property adjusting. This class will not be taught as a theory class. I'm going to try to teach this class for what you actually do when you're out in the field. I am a working adjuster, and I have a company called Epps and Associates that we do insurance claims. So it will not be as a theory thing, it will be what you actually do when you're in the field. Now, anytime you go out to do a claim, there are always three things that you try to look for when you go to do a claim. The first is, do we owe it? That means, is it something that is covered by insurance? A lot of times you'll go out and there will be damage, but it may not be something that you owe. So you always have to determine, is it something that we owe? The second thing that you always have to look for is, how much is it going to cost us? How much money are we going to have to pay out to settle this claim? And the third thing that you always have to try to remember or look for, is there any way to get anything back? And I think computer estimates are wonderful things. They eliminate math errors and they make things a lot simpler. But a computer estimate cannot scope the loss for you, and it cannot tell you exactly what you need all the time. So you have to be able to understand what you're looking for and why you do things when you're out in the field on it. Now, to do that, you have to learn basic arithmetic. We're going to deal with three shapes, and that's it. If you can do these three shapes, then you can pretty well take care of anything that you need to do. Since we've broken this room down into three areas to do the floor, the first area we're going to do is the little alcove right here at the door on it. This makes a rectangle when we measure from here to here and from here to here. And that way we have a way of being able to figure the square footage of this area. Our measurement for the entry, the first measurement is 4 foot 8 inches. The second measurement is 3 foot 4 inches. This gives us our rectangle for the entry. The second area we're going to be measuring is the main body of the room. And we will measure from the back wall to the front wall. And this measurement is 22 feet 8 inches.
After the concrete is hardened, the wood forms are stripped from the footings. If the wood were buried at the bottom of the wall, it would rot and attract termites and other insects. Gravel and sand are spread between the footings. The porous fill prevents moisture from building up under the basement floor. The block work begins. The corners are always built up first. The corners were located again by using the transit and were marked with nails driven into the footings. Each wall unit is put together on the floor, then raised. Exterior walls carry the weight of the roof and additional stories. Interior walls are called partitions. If they support weight, they're called bearing partitions.
Basically, the type of roofs that we will deal with is a gable roof, a hip roof, a mansard roof, a gambrel roof, and a shed roof. If you can do those 5 roofs, then you can probably do basically any kind of roofs that we're going to be dealing with on it. And once we get into the roofs, we will start talking about how to measure them and how to put them all together as far as that goes. The most common type of roof covering materials today is some kind of a composition or asphalt shingle. Your asphalt and composition shingles come in weights from anywhere from around 180 to 190 pounds per square to as much as 400 or 500 pounds to a square on some of your designer shingles today. As a rule, if you have shingles that have tabs, they come 3 bundles to a square. Therefore, they can be priced for 1/3 of a square. Shingles that don't have tabs normally come 4 bundles to a square, therefore they can be figured by the 1/4 of the square. As an example, remember when we did the roof a minute ago that we came up with that had 1,980 square feet on it? We divided by 100 and we said we need 19.80 squares. Well, when you get ready to start putting shingles on the house, let's say they're going to be shingles with a tab on it. 0 to 0.33 is 1 bundle. 0.34, 0.67 is 2 bundles. 0.67, 1, 3 bundles. So here I have 19 full squares and part of another one. Well, since the 0.80 falls between here, I end up with 3 more bundles, which is another full square, so I would need 20 squares. It's what I would have to pay for on it. The next one we're going to do, again, we're going to get up on the roof and we're going to draw the perimeter of the house. Now, this one, the ridges, where the ridges are is going to make a lot of difference as to where you want to cut this one. This one will have to be cut into 3 sections, but we have to go by where the ridges are as to where we want to cut this one and how we want to cut it on it. Now, the way I like to cut this one is, again, I like to keep everything that we have into rectangles. And if I take the rectangles from the 15'6" to the 11', that gives me 1 rectangle there. If I take the top portion of that off and I've got 12 feet 6 inches by 9, that gives me that one. And then what's left is the 17 foot 6 inches by 32 feet 6 inches on it. So once I've got them cut like that and I've got them all measured that way, then the next thing I'm going to do is when I get back to the office, I'm going to start doing my arithmetic on it. And what I've got is 11 times 15.5 times 2 gives me 341. I've got 9 times 12.5 times 2 gives me 225. And I've got 32.5 times 17.5 times 2 gives me 1137. When I add all that together, that comes to 1,703. This happens to be a gable roof on it, so I'm going to add 10%. And when I add 10% to that, I'm at 1,873. When I take 1,873 and divide by 100 to change it to squares, I've got 18.73 squares. Now, the shingles on this one were 3-tab shingles, which come 3 bundles to a square. So since I've got 18.73, I'm going to need 18 full squares and 3 more bundles, which gives me 19 full squares is what I'm going to need for this roof. The next claim shows damage done by a space heater. This is burn damage to a living room wood floor. What we have here is the supply line to the gas space heater cracked, and the escaping gas burned the floor. It also caused damage to the space heater itself. Now, when it burned the floor, we have just one burn in one little area, but we also have damage to the wall, we have damage to the sheetrock, and we have damage to the base trim on it. Do you notice how where the arrows are, where you have a diagonal repair to the sheetrock? Have you ever seen sheetrock laid, fixed, put in with a diagonal seam into it? Obviously, this guy had had a previous damage once before, and in his statement to me, it was a complete lie because he actually had damage prior to this. And the whole purpose of showing something like this is when you are looking at damages, look to see if there's been any previous repairs or some patches on it, because that's an indication of prior claims possibly or previous damage that the insured is trying to hide from you.